I tried going to the mold in my bathroom for advice once. All I got was a stomach virus. Motivational growth follows a guy named Ian who has been secluded in his apartment for 6 months. He's allowed the apartment to go to waste, he's allowed himself to go to waste, and then one day his best friend in the entire world, his television set, dies. Right after this, the mold in his bathroom starts talking to him and giving him advice on how he can improve upon his life. However, he soon figures out that the mold might not be the best thing for him. Now, given that synopsis, you might feel like this movie sounds a little bit strange, but trust me, you have no idea. I don't suspect that David Lynch will be collaborating with Kevin Smith anytime in the near or distant future, but if they ever were to work on a film together, I suspect that it would turn out to be just like Motivational Growth. I could tell that I was in for a unique experience right away when the soundtrack started playing. It's got this kind of old school video game quality to it, which makes it sound like you're listening to somebody play on the Game Boy. And there are just a lot of strange moments in this film. Like, most of the movie is done in live action, but then you'll cut to these entire scenes that are done in sort of a pixel style animation. There are also moments where Ian will enter the world of the television and start interacting physically with the shows that he watches. By the way, I'm kind of surprised that it didn't go into any pornographic material in those scenes. I mean, it's not the kind of thing that I wanted to see, but realistically speaking, we're talking about a guy who's been secluded in his apartment for 6 months and he's not watching porn. Okay. Now, don't start running away when I say this, but Motivational Growth is very much an art house film. In the DVD commentary, the director says that there is a lot of symbolism here meant to represent religion and such. My personal takeaway is that it's sort of a cautionary tale about just being lazy and letting your life go to ruin. Being lazy is something that I can relate to. I mean, look at how often I post these reviews. However, even if you're turned off by very artsy filmmaking, this is just as much of a surreal horror comedy as it is an art house film, and you could just view it as that. The voice of the mold itself is done by Jeffrey Combs, who is very charming and kind of hilarious. He uses a lot of this sort of 1950s slang like buckaroo and successville, and I kind of love how every single time Ian addresses him as mold, he corrects him saying, "The mold." Also, the special effects used to bring the mold to life were very well done. There were a few shots where I thought that they were using CGI because the way that its face was moving was so fluid, but it was all done with puppetry, and they managed to make this disgusting looking puppet look like a living creature. Ian and the Mold aren't the only two characters that carry this film, by the way. Although the majority of the screen time is dedicated to them, there are some very bizarre people who enter the apartment and interact with Ian. In particular, my favorite was Box the Ox, the owner of the apartment complex. He's just this very rude and abrasive character, but much like the mold, he is the sort of character that you love to hate, and he brings a lot of comedic energy when he's on screen. Also, the actor who plays Ian in this movie does a tremendous job of carrying the film on his shoulders. Easily his greatest feat is when he's breaking the fourth wall, talking directly to the audience, and these takes will go on for what seems like forever while he's just articulating these big words, and I mean, that in itself is pretty amazing. Most importantly, even though he's mostly surrounded by assholes, Ian himself is a fairly likable character. You want to see him succeed at his goals while still escaping from this devil that is the mold. In the end, as I've already pretty much stated, you could potentially view Motivational Growth as an art house film with some symbolism to take away from it, or you could just watch it as a silly little horror comedy. Either way, there's nothing wrong with how you view it. I won't judge you. More importantly, I don't recall seeing a film this original since I was 18 years old and I watched Eraserhead for the first time. So if you're interested in seeing something that is truly different, that is not like any other film that you've seen before, then Motivational Growth comes highly recommended. Because the mold knows what you need to see, Jack. The mold knows.